Good evening, everyone, and hello. Hope you're doing well. My name is Reid, Maury, and my thesis will be dealing with technology in the workplace. Imagine this, a future where the workplace is an exciting place full of new and creative technologies. A future where companies are at peak efficiency and productivity. A future where workplace accidents that leave employees injured or worse are entirely eradicated. Now imagine a future where employees suffer from poor health. A future where employees are unable to escape from their work, no matter where they are. A future where automation has replaced all jobs. Which of these two futures will using technology in the workplace bring about? Before we delve too deep into this, we should first understand the history of technology in the workplace. The idea of technology has existed throughout the entire history of the world, with one of the earliest significant technologies being the wheel. However, there are specific times and people which have brought about many technological advancements. For example, Roman civilization produced many incredible technologies, such as concrete, the aqueducts, and elaborate roads like highways. These advancements allowed the workers of those days to build sturdy structures, stay healthy, and travel with ease, all of which allowed workplaces to thrive and grow. Although these technologies are all important classical examples, the most significant classical examples of technology are arguably the accomplishments of Archimedes. Archimedes lived from 287 BC to 212 BC in Syracuse, Sicily, and was one of history's greatest thinkers. With his brilliant mind, he was able to solve many problems, as well as create valuable inventions to both protect and improve his home city-state. One example of Archimedes' incredible mind in action was when he solved the problem of the king's gold crown. In this instant, Archimedes was tasked with solving whether or not the king's crown was made of gold. Using his ingenuity and brilliant mind, he discovered that the crown was only partially made of gold. On top of this, Archimedes created useful inventions to help with the protection of his home at the request of King Hiram of Syracuse. These defenses ranged from projectiles launched against the invaders to poles that emerged from the sides of walls to sink ships that sailed too close, as described in Plutarch's Lives. These inventions massively aided Syracuse's defenses against invading forces and allowed the workplaces within to feel protected and safe. These accomplishments solidified Archimedes as one of the greatest minds ever. Archimedes, however, is not the only individual who created useful and great technologies. Many gifted and talented minds have contributed to further technologies with various purposes and designs. One of the more prominent of these people was Leonardo da Vinci. The inventions this man designed and created were not inconsequential, with a few consisting of the flying machine, the helicopter, the parachute, and the giant crossbow. However, these are only a minuscule portion of the many inventions he created or designed, most of which can be found inside the Codex Maury, a compilation of his notebooks. From this, it is clear to see that technologies of all kinds have arisen since the dawn of time and are not something that have only recently manifested. However, they have certainly evolved into more complex forms over time. For instance, look at the invention of the telegraph. First invented back in the 1830s by Samuel Morse, the telegraph quickly revolutionized long-distance communication. The device transmitted electrical signals over a wire between 2 points and primarily used a form of communication called Morse code. However, as time progressed, the telegraph slowly became less and less used as newer, more advanced versions of this technology came to the table. These more advanced technologies are the telephone, email, and the internet. Not only does technology continue to develop into more complex iterations of itself over time, but it is also an inevitability for it to do so. So far, I have used the term technology quite prominently in this thesis, and so it would make sense to give a brief background on this term. Technology is derived from a combination of the Greek word techne, meaning art or craft, with logos, meaning word and speech or study. The word first appeared in English in the 17th century and was initially used to discuss the applied arts only. However, by the 20th century, it grew to encompass various meanings, processes, and ideas. And by the mid-century, the word developed the definition we associate with it today. According to Merriam-Webster Dictionary, the term technology can be defined as a manner of accomplishing a task, especially using technical processes, methods, or knowledge. Along with technology, an important term to define now will be automation. Although this term is yet to be brought up, I will define it now for use later. One way that the Merriam-Webster Dictionary defines this term is the automatically controlled operation of an apparatus, process, or system by mechanical or electronic devices that take the place of human labor. However, there are other ways Merriam-Webster defines this term. It can also indicate technique of making an apparatus, process, or system operate automatically. When I use the term automation later, I will primarily mean the latter in two definitions. With all this background, the issue of technology in the workplace can emerge more prominently. This issue has been around since the 1800s and is still discussed in this day and age. It is an issue that dramatically affects all people, both in and outside the workforce. Even though technological advances have been occurring throughout all history, it has begun to be viewed as a much more troublesome problem. Why is that? Well, the answer to that question has already been addressed. As time has progressed, technologies have started to become increasingly elaborate in their designs and purposes, and this was especially the case in the Industrial Revolution. During that time, this issue began to rise to a more prominent degree, and since then, has only continued to grow in significance. So, what should be done concerning it? Should we remove technology from the workplace, or should it stay? If it stays, should it be guided in a direction, or should it be left unguided? Of course, the answer to these questions depends on the technology you're focusing on. For instance, look again at the telegraph. This invention was not guided and remained available for the public to use and improve on, resulting eventually in many of the technologies we now have today. On the other side, there are particular inventions that the government closes off from the public through the U.S. patent, such as technologies that have military application. These are only improved on and created by organizations that the government permits to do so. Although this helps us understand this question to a greater extent, it does not answer whether technology should stay in the workplace. There's no need to worry, though, as viewpoints from both sides will be provided. These can be used to provide an answer to this question, which has been debated for many years. To find an answer concerning this issue of whether technology should be used in the workplace, one must first ask these questions. How can technology, if used correctly, positively influence and support employees while in the workplace? Is it possible for technology within the workplace to lead to positive benefits and behaviors for both the workplace and employee? And finally, should technology continue to remain part of the workplace? Firstly, if technology is used correctly, it can lead to a positive influence and more significant support in the workplace. Specific technology removes the need for humans to complete repetitive tasks and opens them up to more fulfilling and challenging tasks. Repetitive tasks, although they are an essential part of many of the jobs and everyday activities that we find ourselves a part of, are tasks that can be easily automated or simplified. What might some of these repetitive tasks be, though? These tasks are usually found within most jobs, with a few being assembly line work and typing. It is easy to see how assembly line work can be automated, but how might typing? The truth is that there is no need to automate the action of typing. However, specific typing actions can be shortened and accomplished via shortcuts, which can lead to the one typing spending more time on more essential things. With time now being diverted from these repetitive tasks, the person typing can spend more time on pressing and challenging matters. Even though this is seen in paper, has it been used in an actual business to improve its productivity? The answer to this is yes. A company known as Dan, founded in 1968 and known for being a prescription distribution service, was attempting to grow via the development of a sizable back office operation. This operation required employees to perform repetitive tasks, eventually leading to problems in other areas of the company. As a result, the company decided to automate the repetitive tasks in the operation, which led to better outcomes with lower costs. Lucas Bremer, Process and Project Coordinator of GAN, said this concerning the addition of automation to the operation. We saved approximately BRL 120,000 per year on employee salaries when we automated manual and repetitive tasks. Robots now carry out these tasks, with employees freed up to carry out intelligent, higher value tasks. From this, we can deduce that by automating repetitive tasks correctly, employees can free themselves from monotonous work and use their time better. This change can, in turn, keep their morale from plummeting. Along with removing repetitive tasks, technology in the workplace can allow human creativity to solve how a task or problem is completed or solved. With workers now free from most monotonous work, thanks to automation, they can devote the time to other, more challenging areas requiring more thinking and time. As a result, different ways to complete and accomplish these tasks can be discovered and created. For instance, look at the work involved in construction. In the construction of a building, there are many steps that need to precede the physical act of building the job. For example, before a beam is placed or concrete is laid down, a plan must be made, and is often done in the form of a 2D image on paper. However, a 2D image can only show you so much, and when you present a plan to a client, you want them to have a clear idea of what it will look like. This area is where the creation of virtual reality has greatly benefited. With the addition of this technology, clients and workers alike can physically get a feel for the space through virtual reality that will eventually be built before it's even started. This can be done through virtual reality or through 3D image via computer. This can also reveal costly design problems that might have been missed had only a 2D image been used. Chris Maury, Senior Regional Director of Rhode Island for Shawmut Design and Construction, said this concerning virtual reality. Virtual reality in construction has been a game changer. Not only has it allowed construction managers and design teams the ability to show a client what their project will look like before it has been fully designed, it has also allowed for issues such as design coordination of mechanical and structural systems to be done early in design. This results in cost savings for clients with schedule and through avoidance of costly change orders during construction. Not only is this method a creative way of solving this issue, but also one that is functional. Another aspect that technology in the workplace can bring forward is increased employee engagement within the workplace. With morale high and creativity flowing, employees are now more engaged in their work, which makes them more efficient and benefits the company in a positive way. Why might an increase in employee engagement help both the business and employees? When employees are motivated and engaged in their work, their overall performance is highly likely to increase, and a drive to accomplish tasks will be present. In addition, with the employees being more productive, the general business can improve profitability, with some companies increasing by 21%. Evidence for this can be seen in the Gallup report. Therefore, as a result of technology, the individual employee, as well as the company as a whole, can significantly improve. Following this, technology within the workplace can lead to positive benefits and behaviors that can help the company and the individual employee. For starters, it can lead to employees being able to communicate more effectively. With the addition of the telegraph to society, people could share in ways that had never been done before. As time passed, the telegraph developed into more complex technologies, and the communication methods increased in variety and quality. Nowadays, people can communicate via email, phone calls, text messages, and online meetings. These methods allow employees to quickly contact their fellow associates, even if they are not present or in the area. In addition, these new ways to communicate are helpful in case an emergency or something significant within the workplace arises and must be discussed as quickly as possible. Thanks to these new ways of contacting people and staying in touch, employees can keep each other up to date and the business running smoothly. Along being able to communicate more effectively. Technology can lead to improvements in both productivity and efficiency in the workplace. These improvements stem from various digital tools, applications, and systems, such as spreadsheets, word processing documents, and slide presentation software. Although productivity and efficiency are both immensely beneficial for a business, there is something that every business needs to be successful. The company needs a strong and secure security system to battle cyber attacks, rising dangers. Luckily, with technology improving many other aspects of the workplace, security was included. Like other technological advances, it has increased its effectiveness over time to defend against the increasing volume and complexity of cybercriminal attacks. Security systems such as antivirus and multi-factor authentication have been able to defend against these attacks. However, this software is only able to protect against non-employee related breaches. According to research on this topic, 9 out of 10, or 88% of all data breaches are caused by human error. Although this percentage is undoubtedly high, hope is preserved, and it can be reduced via a security awareness training program. These programs provide real-world scenarios using simulated campaigns that can significantly assist in educating threat vectors and attack techniques. With the help of these two new technologies, businesses can stay one step ahead of the rising number of cyber criminals and keep their business strong and secure. Lastly, technology is something that should remain a part of the workplace. Why should it stay in the workplace then? This is because it can also lead businesses to become more effective. Thanks to improvements in technology, business can improve various aspects that are vital to the company's success, which, in turn, improves its effectiveness. For any business to succeed, it must first make its company known to people. This task is primarily done through advertisements, and thanks to technology, businesses now have various platforms and opportunities to promote their company. With more and more people now learning about that business and approaching it, the industry needs to be able to keep its customers happy. And, thanks to technology, it can do just that. Recent technologies have allowed businesses to have nearly instant response times to assist customers with what they require. Even when the company cannot keep up with almost instant response times, the customer can help themselves thanks to self-help resources. An excellent example of this being beneficial for a company can be seen in the business of Domino's. In 2008, Domino's started to experience a steady decline, and, as a result, decided that they had to transform their service, delivery, and bring more value to customers. They realized that more than just making good pizza was needed in order to stay afloat in a competitive environment. So, they started incorporating more technology into their business. They also discovered that customers would choose you over competitors if you offered better customer service at the same price. With both these things in mind, Domino's was able to use technology effectively to improve agility by incorporating Domino's Anywhere, which enables clients to order pizza through dozens of channels. For a business to succeed, it needs customers, and thanks to technology, it is easier than ever to gain them. Although the concept of how Domino's was able to turn their business around in a positive way is a great example of why technology is able to benefit a business, the main reason that technology should remain in the workplace is because technology is a tool God has given us. Initially, these technologies were only used for our good and to bring glory to God. However, after the fall, sin crept into the world, and these technologies that were once only used for good were also used for evil. A place where this can be seen is in Exodus 31, 3-11. Here we can see that the people of Israel were able to use the technology of that time to create a tent of meeting, something which the Lord was very pleased with. However, in Exodus 32, 3-4, we can see them use these same technologies that were used in the creation of the temple to create an idol. Even though technology can sometimes be used for evil, we should understand that God intended for technology to be in the world. And so, we should use that gift to improve and assist us with the work we do now. Even though technologies provide many benefits for the workplace that use them, some points and arguments have been made against this movement. These have brought to light many problems and issues arising from these technologies. Some of these issues include having a negative impact on employees, large amounts of job elimination and displacement of workers, and employees having constant availability in communications. Although these are only a few issues discussed, these are the main counter-arguments made against the technology within the workplace. Let's start with the argument that states that technology in the workplace impacts employees in a negative way. This argument has substantial ground and can be seen when looking at the whole picture. This negative impact stems from the overuse of technology in the workplace. However, this overuse of technology only has a negative effect on the employee when it is used poorly and incorrectly. When used correctly, it can make the employee's lives much more manageable and can significantly boost the company it is implemented in. This topic is similar to the wielding of a sword. Although a blade can be a powerful and deadly weapon that can assist the wielder, if it is not used correctly and is handled poorly, then the sword can injure and harm its very wielder. There have also been breakthroughs in technology that have assisted with some of the harmful side effects that technology can have on a person, even when it is used correctly. These are known as ergonomics and are capable of significantly assisting employees with their physical health. Some examples of ergonomics are modified chairs that help with posture, glasses that protect against blue light, and ergonomic keyboards that help with wrist protection. Following this argument, there is the issue of job elimination and displacement of workers as a result of automation. When looking at the concept of automation, this issue is impossible to overlook, and is, in fact, a certainty. However, even with this in mind, we should not completely rule out the idea of technology within the workplace, simply because it eradicates a job. Many of the jobs that automation replaces are either dangerous for the worker or require a high amount of tedious work, and in the process, increase both performance and productivity for the business. On top of this, whenever a job is replaced by automation, other jobs that didn't previously exist can form. A statistic from GitNest shows that 85 million jobs will be replaced by automation, but as a result, 97 million jobs will be created. This is due to automation requiring employees to work on its upkeep and functionality. Also, when a company decides it is in its best interest to turn to automation, it is not a task that can immediately occur, as it takes a decent amount of time for the job to be entirely replaced by automation. Therefore, those workers whose jobs are being eradicated have time to train themselves for a new line of work, look for a replacement job, and prepare for when the day eventually does arrive. Lastly, we have the issue of employees having constant availability to communications. Although being able to contact anyone at any time, at any place, certainly has its advantages, it also has its disadvantages. Having to deal with constant availability can leave employees tired and even sick of their work. Even while trying to relax, they constantly deal with emails and calls from their other employees and clients. However, even though this is a problem, it can be resolved relatively quickly. For starters, if an employee wishes to avoid being contacted after a particular time or during a certain number of days, they should inform the rest of their coworkers. This task can be accomplished with something as simple as an out-of-office email. Looking back, we have delved into the history of technology, from mankind's earlier forms of technology, such as the wheel, to the more modern, such as the telephone. We then considered whether technology should remain a part of the workplace. Next, we investigated many reasons why it should, with a few being it increases employee engagement, allows for more effective communication, and leads to more effective businesses. Finally, we ended with a look into some arguments against the addition of technology in the workplace, some of which were that it causes a negative impact on employees and makes them constantly available, and show how they can be minimized and even avoided altogether. Thanks to this new understanding that we now possess of technology in the workplace, there is no question that we should continue to use it. We must use it to strive for a better future, correctly using the tools that God gave us to improve working conditions for employees and productivity for businesses. We now return to the question asked initially: what future will the use of technology in the workplace bring about? Well, that all depends on whether technology is used correctly or incorrectly. By using technology correctly, following all the points made in this thesis, we can bring about a better future for those in the workplace. The question that remains is this: we going to strive for a better future? Are we going to try our best to move forward and continue to use the tool that God gave to us? Are we going to continue to make improvements that better both the worker and the business? Or will we remain stuck in the past, afraid to push forward into the unknown, and do what is yet to be done? That is up for us to decide. Thank you.
Thank you, Reid. I have one question. Okay. So you spoke of certain technologies that have either been allowed to develop freely, so you mentioned the telegraph, and then some that have been regulated. Do you have any others in mind other than, or in the case of a technology that's being regulated that should probably be more hands-off, or something that's unregulated that should be regulated?
Off the top of my head, I can't think of any. But I can get back to you.
Just curious.
Yeah, mine's similar to that, but so let's say an example of, semi-truck drivers, if they semi become automated, and that happens faster. So you did address this issue pretty well. But let's say that happens, and the rollout happens faster than normal, and there's a bunch of people displaced. Do you personally think that government should intervene in some way, or what are your thoughts on if automation does get out of control and there's a large percentage of displacement that is affecting society, how do you think that should be handled?
Well, if it goes way out of control, that it's like taking over everything, then I believe the government, it would be smart for them to intervene to some extent. But if it's just like just a few little things that doesn't affect like things too drastically, and then I think we'll continue to.
And I would ask you about, this idea of a better future. You talked about, to create a better future. I think, hearing your thesis, I'm pretty convinced technology will improve productivity, which is going to, potentially benefit both employees and employers. But, there are well-known examples of technology, particularly we talk about the Industrial Revolution, where people moved into cities and worked in factory jobs and did things that had previously been cottage industries that supported families. I guess you could argue that they voluntarily participated in those jobs, and that was better than maybe peasant farming or something like that. But can you find evidence, or should I say it this way? What is technology's impact on quality of life? What is your overall, not just setting productivity aside, quality of life for both employees and employers?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. So if it is used correctly, and then it can be used to benefit technologies that might have a negative impact on employees. But and then if it isn't used incorrectly, it can obviously go against that and increase the negative impact on such things. So, but with ergonomics, for instance,